You're welcome to Cstv News at 24 on Cstv. For more news updates, you can follow us on all social media handles at CSTVGH. We also transmit live on Facebook and YouTube at CSTVGH. Cstv News 24 is brought to you by Yab Decorations, Sarah's Dreams Jewelry, Streets by Manel, KS Rafmex, Rema Oshery Agency, Celeste Sweet Tom Brown, and Amsol Block Machinery and Block Manufacturing. Now in the headlines, President John Dramani Mahama discloses cost of 68th Independence celebration. Also coming your way, civil society groups demand new leadership. Former Finance Minister warns against over-reliance on treasure bill trends. On the international front, Donald Trump expands exemptions from Canada and Mexico tariffs. There's many more stories to be coming your way as well as weather reports. Stay tuned. My name is Dorcas Mensah. And now the news in details. President John Dramani Mahama has disclosed that the 68th Independence Day celebration cost the country only 1.5 million Ghana cedis. Speaking at the celebration at the Jubilee House, he indicated that 1.5 million is just 10% of the 15 Ghana cedis million used for the same celebration in 2024.
The state spent 15 million Ghana cedis on last year's celebration and spent 13.7 million cedis on the previous year's celebration in Ho, in the Volta region. This year, we received estimates of at least 20 million Ghana cedis for holding the event at the Independence Square on the same scale as the previous years. In a year when we are calling on all to sacrifice, including workers who have graciously accepted a base pay adjustment far below the rate of inflation, it is unconscionable to spend that kind of money on a few hours of celebration. Today's event would save us 95% of the estimated cost of the event. Nonetheless, this scaled-down celebration does not diminish the importance and significance of this occasion in any way. Ghana's independence is the single most important event in our history, as it sets out us on the path of nationhood. It is even more significant because it lit the flame of independence in sub-Saharan Africa by inspiring other countries yoked to colonial exploitation to seek independence and self-determination. This day must therefore always be commemorated, but when reality calls for a different approach, we must heed it and act accordingly. Moreover, hosting the celebration here at the preserves the symbolic essence of Independence Day while demystifying the seats of government.
Former Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah has criticized the government over what he describes as its failure to clearly define and explain key economic policies, especially the March-touted 24-hour economy. Speaking on the floor of Parliament, Kojo Nkrumah urged government to focus on governance rather than propaganda.
The real issues that you campaigned on, the things that the millions of young people who were singing Queen Queen are waiting to hear you deliver on, they get lost in the cracks. And I want to spend some time reminding you of the things that you campaigned on and the things that many people were hoping that when the president mounted the podium, he will be explaining how he will be delivering on them. The president campaigned on the cost of living crisis. He campaigned that transport fares were high and were still going high, and that if he's given an opportunity to come to power, he will roll out a program to tackle it. Did anybody hear the president here explain how he was going to tackle the phenomenon of transport fares that are going up? He spent all the time lamenting and trying to blame the heads of state of the past, just like he did in 2013. The president campaigned on high electricity bills and the fact that if he has an opportunity to come to power, he will introduce measures to tackle it. When he mounted the podium on Thursday, the expectation was that he will lay out a program, which program we now in Parliament will spend time debating. Did anybody hear the president explain how he's going to tackle electricity tariffs that keep going up? For many months, when the president was campaigning, he was speaking about high food inflation. When he mounted the podium, I was hoping to hear him outline how his program to deal with high food prices. I didn't hear it. I don't know if colleagues heard the president outline it here so that we could be debating it by now. Three major things that I want to draw the government bench's attention to. Number one, stop the propaganda. You have won the election already. You don't need to do more propaganda. The propaganda will not create jobs. It won't put food on the tables of people. It won't put clothes on the backs of people. Rather, bring your governance programs. Till date, we don't have a single definition for the 24-hour economy program. Everybody, program bako, definition bebre. Program bako, definition bebre.
Minister of Education Haruna Idrisu has backlash members of Parliament under the ticket of the New Patriotic Party for what he believes to be the attempt to absolve themselves of responsibility for the party's disastrous performance in the 2024 elections.
IMF, they were running, they said superior managers of the economy. What happened to the Fiscal Responsibility Act? It was on suspension even before you executed political power. You said you wanted fiscal prudence. You brought in a Fiscal Responsibility Act with Ken Oforiatta as your minister. When we said censure him, you said no. Now that you have lost, you want to blame him for everything. You supported him to mess the country up, mess the economy up, and mess your administration up. So walk in regret and live in regret. When we said that he should be called to order, you overborrowed. And Mr. Speaker, again, let this parliament work for the people of Ghana. Ghana needs to have a ceiling on how much we can borrow. It cannot be at every time as it pleases a finance minister. He walks here, parliament fails in its responsibility, grants him between 2017 and 2021 before COVID, $3.5 billion. Yet the previous NDC administration did just $1 billion. So again, elephant appetite for borrowing. Your government had an elephant appetite for borrowing. At every time you wanted to borrow and you borrowed, you undertook fiscal infrastructure. You said you were building Agenda 111 hospital, 88. At least if 2 or 3 of it was functional, it will make meaningful contribution to maternal health, improve healthcare delivery in Ghana. Your overambitious initiative, you got none completed. You are more interested in winning votes at the December election than caring for the lives of Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, President Mahama will soon launch the Mahama Cares, where some money will be dedicated and seed money provided to the Mahama Care, which will deal with diseases that are not catered for under the National Health Insurance Fund.
Now moving on to health, the Ghana Health Service has announced a significant reshuffle of regional health directors as part of efforts to enhance healthcare service delivery across the country. The reassignments, which take effect on 14th April 2025, aim to strengthen the healthcare system and align with the Ghana Health Service objectives. As part of the changes, Dr. Samuel Kwabena Boaten, former Regional Director of Health Service for the Upper East Region, has been appointed as the Director of Policy, Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Division at the Ghana Health Service headquarters. Our two other stories. Acting CEO of the Environmental Protection Agency, Professor Nana Ama Brown Kluche, has urged victims of the tidal waves in Ketu South to relocate and seek shelter with family members in safer areas. Speaking in an interview, she explained that the EPA's role is to assess the environmental impact and to educate citizens.
For your assessment, may I report to the level of degradation or home. May I ask for support. If you need financial strength, may I buy defense. You ask for support, and I'm happy that the measures are that country to put in place to solve this problem. Immediately, the people have advised them to relocate. If you do more, when you move for new sites, when you support from Ghana Gas, yeah, advising of one, so Mumpa be before from Kotla. I don't know if you heard me. If you do my relocation, we'll move for new site. Once we have support from Ghana Gas, we'll move from that area to a new site. But if you also are still connected to their homes, in say, although part of their building will break down, whatever was that building limit, they are still feel connected to one area. It's understandable and easy to migrate just easily from your land. We can only advise at this point. Yeah, advise that my community that one move into one family, one area home now, and one I will to make wise to them for a new location also. One move will call a home. When create new site or inland Katawa, into the more you can move for her. It's a left side that we call water. Yes, you share a measure to save one land. A
coalition of civil society organizations, environmental advocates, and concerned citizens has called for urgent leadership changes within Ghana's minerals and mining regulatory bodies and the government to take immediate steps to address the growing menace of illegal mining in Ghana. In a press statement, the group highlighted the destruction of forest reserves, the failure of law enforcement, and the need for new leadership to tackle the crisis. The statement criticized the Environmental Protection Regulation, which allows mining forest reserves. Now moving on to the Eastern region, suspected thugs disrupted the funeral of Nana Kwame Nkrumah IV at Kwewu Twiniduase, forcing an abrupt end to the ceremony. Nana Nkrumah II, Chidom Hene of Kwewu Twiniduase, confirmed the incident.
And I do Ekobodu Bako. Mensuto. Yehu answer much for nipa bi omoye wutini rasta. Nipa be aduasa. Canopy ayabo ne nkonya ayahyehe. A de toa nana ayi ne so. Kofui abitutu canopy no abubu nkonya no na deko ayaye. Na namfuni a ede asisi wa bi ede yayi no. Kofui abubu ni na pasa. Asa de tie no jese na anode. Nti anopai nanamu hia ma ede to enga no wani okontonji. Ma enkra nanam enya ne se ni babonefo no enim se obo ha so mo tetahim. Nti se ekoba se ye ni se obi who be ba na be ba na obi di bibi ekobrano na ekofa samkese aba bema enye nika ye oyindi na lugwase bibre ko ama ebi aka ko moya inti akoba se ayinu etwaso.
You're still live on Cstv News at 24 on CST. More stories will be coming your way after the commercial break. Stay tuned.
Company Limited. So we pay blocks machines here a papa. None born so assign a da from dia. Any na enwani Amsal Company Limited. Your conveyor blocks machines, hydraulic blocks machines, pallets, any blocks machines in one set using na. And nothing so blocks machines are who draw opening in a being so ever ho. To show your child quite in a year. There was Spinters Road 18 Junction. Yani KFC Dino and a dish anymore. Frey, it was 05,240 and I say 0540-725850. Amstel blocks machines in Papa Pa Efie.
You are come back from the commercial break. Now the news continues. Former Finance Minister Mohammed Enim Adam has raised concerns about the current administration's approach to managing treasury bill rates. He argued that the drop in treasury bill rate is not the result of any innovative economic policy, but rather the consequences of excess liquidity in the system. According to him, the government decision to reject some treasury bill bids is not a calculated financial strategy, but a reaction to the influx of funds in the domestic market. Chairman of the National Economic Dialogue, Dr. Ishmael Yamson, says private sector has a critical role to play in reviving Ghana's struggling economy. In an interview, he appealed to the private sector to take an active role in addressing the economic crisis rather than waiting for government intervention.
We were keen to bring the very best that we have and put them together, because they have done it before. All the governors, and I can tell you that when I went to see Paul to talk to him about
that, have done a real good work to close this.
a difficult job.
Yeah, I know.
But in the end, I was very happy that Paul participated. And the depth of this man's knowledge is amazing. It's just amazing. And I was happy to see all of them together, pulling their minds together, but they have all done that job before. You know? And so because for us, the macro was the biggest elephant in the room. Because everything in this country at the macro level is gone bizarre. So we wanted all of them together, to try and just help us think through, why can't we resolve this simple macro issue, and that every now and then we spend 3 years stabilize, 5 years destabilize, 3 years stabilize, 5 years destabilize. How can we go on like this? So we said to all of them, please come, share your ideas. Now, the time is now. We are not here to blame anybody. We are here to find solutions to the problems we have. because we need to build a different Ghana for our generations. No, I made mention of generation hustlers.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that the Economist has written an article about
it.
Why? You are breeding young people who have lost trust in their country, no hope in their country, in their leaders, and all they say we are leaving. They are leaving the country. You destroyed it. Keep it. We can't stay here. Off we go. And
moving on to international front, U.S. President Donald Trump has signed orders significantly expanding the goods exempted from its new tariffs on Canada and Mexico that were imposed this week. It is the second time in 2 days that Trump has rolled back his taxes on imports from the U.S. two biggest trade partners, measures that have raised uncertainty for businesses and worried financial markets. And so in international stories, forces linked to Syria's new rulers have engaged in heavy fighting with fighters loyal to depose President Bashar al-Assad in a coastal area of the country. A war monitoring group, the British-based Observatory for Human Rights, said more than 70 people have been killed. A curfew has been imposed in the port cities where the fighting has broken out. On this note, we go for a commercial break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the commercial break. It's still live on Cstv News 24 on Cstv. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel Cstv for more news updates. Now, in entertainment story, media personality and reggae musician Abubakar Ahmed, popularly known as Black Rasta, has lauded the leader of the minority caucus, Alexander Afenyomakin, for what he described as choosing the interests of Ghanaians over the new Patriotic Party. According to him, Afenyomakin could have accepted the offer to chair the appointments committee after being nominated by the Speaker of Parliament. Weather report is up next. Stay tuned. Weather update for today's afternoon. Sunny weather amidst occasional cloudiness will dominate the country this afternoon. However, localized thunderstorms with or without rain of varying intensities are expected to affect few places within the middle, transition, and northern sectors from late afternoon into the evening hours. Meanwhile, slightly hazy conditions will affect the extreme portions of the northern half throughout the forecast period. On this note, this is where we end today's news bulletin on CSTV. But before we go, a recap of the top stories. President John Dramani Mahama discloses cost of the 68th Independence celebration. Also, civil society groups demand for new leadership. Former Finance Minister warns against over-reliance on Treasury bill trends. On the international front, President Donald Trump expands exemptions from Canada and Mexico tariffs. And this is where we draw our curtains for today's news bulletin on CSTV. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at CSTVGH for more news updates and also follow us on all social media handles. CSTV News at 24 was brought to you by Yap Decorations, Sarah's Dream Jewelries, Treats by Manel KF Graphics, Rema Ushering Agency, Celeste Sweeton Brown, and Amsel Block Machinery and Block Manufacturing. My name is Dr. Mensan. Good afternoon.